The George Washington Bridge, known informally as the GW Bridge, the GWB, the GW, or the George, is a double-decked suspension bridge spanning the Hudson River, connecting the Washington Heights neighborhood in the borough of Manhattan in New York City to Fort Lee, New Jersey. As of 2015, update, the George Washington Bridge carries over 106 million vehicles per year, making it the world's busiest motor vehicle bridge. The bridge is owned by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, a bi-state government agency that operates several area bridges, tunnels and airports. The bridge, an integral conduit within the New York metropolitan area, has an upper level that carries 4 lanes in each direction and a lower level with 3 lanes in each direction, for a total of 14 lanes of travel. The speed limit on the bridge is 45 miles per hour, though congestion often slows traffic, especially during the morning and evening rush hours. The bridge's upper level also carries pedestrian and bicycle traffic. Interstate 95 and U.S. Route 19 cross the river via the bridge. At its eastern terminus in New York City, the bridge connects with the Trans-Manhattan Expressway. History. The bridge sits near the sites of Fort Washington and Fort Lee, which were fortified positions used by General George Washington and his American forces as they attempted to deter the occupation of New York City. In 1776, during the American Revolutionary War, unsuccessful, Washington evacuated Manhattan by crossing between the two forts. Construction on the bridge began in October 1927 as a project of the Port of New York Authority. Its chief engineer was Udmar Ammon, with Cass Gilbert as architect. When construction started, the estimated cost of the bridge was $75 million. Prior to and while under construction, the bridge was unofficially known as the Hudson River Bridge. That name was the popular choice, chosen over a host of other proposed names, as well as the Port Authority's preference for the name of George Washington Bridge, based on 1931 ballot voting submitted to the Port Authority by New York and New Jersey residents. However, the Port Authority named the bridge after George Washington that year. The bridge was dedicated on October 24, 1931, and opened to traffic the following day. The George Washington Bridge, with a span of 4,760 feet in total, including a main span of 3,500 feet, was the longest main bridge span in the world at the time, at nearly double the 1,850 feet of the previous record holder, the Ambassador Bridge in Detroit. It held this title until the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge in 1937. In 1946, 2 more lanes were created on the current upper level, widening it from the original 6 lanes. A second, lower deck, which had been anticipated in Ammon's original plans, was approved by Lt. Col. Joseph R. McCammon, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and opened to the public on August 29, 1962. The lower level, nicknamed Martha, after George's wife Martha Washington, increased the capacity of the bridge by 75%, and simultaneously made the George Washington Bridge the world's only 14-lane suspension bridge. The original design for the towers of the bridge called for them to be encased in concrete and granite. However, because of cost considerations during the Great Depression and favorable aesthetic critiques of the bare steel towers, this was never done. The exposed steel towers, with their distinctive criss-crossed bracing, have become one of the bridge's most identifiable characteristics. Le Corbusier said of the unadorned steel structure, "The George Washington Bridge over the Hudson is the most beautiful bridge in the world. Made of cables and steel beams, it gleams in the sky like a reversed arch. It is blessed. It is the only seat of grace in the disordered city. It is painted an aluminum color, and between water and sky, you see nothing but the bent cord supported by 2 steel towers. When your car moves up the ramp, the 2 towers rise so high that it brings you happiness. Their structure is so pure, so resolute, so regular that here, finally, steel architecture seems to laugh." The car reaches an unexpectedly wide apron. The second tower is very far away. Innumerable vertical cables, gleaming against the sky, are suspended from the magisterial curve which swings down and then up. The rose-colored towers of New York appear, a vision whose harshness is mitigated by distance. When the cathedrals were white, the George Washington Bridge was designated a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark by the American Society of Civil Engineers on October 24, 1981, the 50th anniversary of the bridge's dedication ceremony. As the enclosed lower level is more vulnerable to hazardous material incidents than the upper level, most HAZMATs have long been prohibited there. Following the September 11 attacks, the Port Authority also prohibited people from taking photographs on the premises of the bridge out of fear that terrorist groups might study photographs to plot an attack on the bridge. But the photography ban has since been lifted. Since 2006, the bridge has flown the world's largest free-flying American flag, measuring at 90 feet long, 60 feet wide, and 450 pounds. It is hoisted on special occasions when weather allows, and appears on Martin Luther King, Jr. Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Flag Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, and Veterans Day, as well as on dates honoring those lost in the September 11 attacks. In December 2011, the Port Authority announced plans to repair the bridge. For the first time, the vertical suspender cables will be replaced, at an expected cost of more than $1 billion paid for by toll revenue. On August 5, 2013, repair crews began an $82 million effort to fix cracks in upper deck structural steel caused by traffic, particularly heavy trucks. The plan called for replacing 632 road deck panels, which would add at least 20 years of service life to the roadway. The work proceeded at night, and was slated to be complete by year's end. But delays prevented completion and ultimately the work was halted for the winter. It was restarted on June 16, 2014, and was expected to last another 12 weeks, from September 9 to 13, 2013. Dedicated toll lanes for one of the local Fort Lee entrances to the bridge's upper level were reduced from 3 to 1, the two given to highway traffic, without notification to local government officials and emergency responders on orders from aides and appointees of New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, a Republican, causing a political controversy. The local toll lane reductions cause massive traffic congestion, with major delays for school transportation and police and emergency service responses within Fort Lee. The repercussions and controversy surrounding these actions have been investigated by the Port Authority, federal prosecutors, and a New Jersey legislature committee. Connections and routes. Road access. The George Washington Bridge carries I-95 and US 1-9 between New Jersey and New York. Coming from New Jersey, US 46 terminates at the state border in the middle of the bridge. I-80, US 9 West, and New Jersey Route 4 also feed into the bridge but end before reaching it. The Palisades Interstate Parkway connects directly to the bridge's upper level, and the New Jersey Turnpike connects to both levels of the bridge. The marginal roads and local streets above the highways are known as GWB Plaza. On the New York side, the 12-lane Trans-Manhattan Expressway heads east across the narrow neck of Upper Manhattan, from the bridge to the Harlem River, providing access from both decks to 178th Street. The Henry Hudson Parkway and Riverside Drive on the west side of Manhattan, and to Amsterdam Avenue and the Harlem River Drive on the east side. The expressway connects directly with the Alexander Hamilton Bridge, which spans the Harlem River as part of the Cross Bronx Expressway, providing access to the major Deegan Expressway. Heading towards New Jersey, local access to the bridge is available from 179th Street. There are also ramps connecting the bridge to the George Washington Bridge Bus Terminal, a commuter bus terminal with direct access to the New York City subway at the 175th Street station on the IND 8th Avenue line. Emergency services are provided by the Port Authority's tunnel and bridge agents, who are stationed at the bridge 24/7 and maintain various apparatus such as fire trucks, rescue trucks, and wreckers specially designed for the GW Bridge for serious incidents, such as fires, vehicle extrications, hazmat incidents, overturned vehicles, and many other emergencies. Emergency medical services are also provided by the agents. Tolls. Eastbound vehicles must pay a toll to cross the bridge, as with all Hudson River crossings along the North River. Westbound vehicles cross for free. Tolls for the bridge cost $1.50 one way in 1931, have been raised over the years, and will increase to $15 cash for passenger vehicles starting December 6, 2015. In 2006, bridge tolls totaled about $1 million per day. At the time, tolls for cars were $6 cash, $5 EZ Pass peak hours, and $4 EZ Pass off-peak hours. As of December 7, 2014, the cash tolls going from New Jersey to New York are $14 for both cars and motorcycles. EZ Pass users are charged $9.75 for cars and $8.75 for motorcycles during off-peak hours, and $11.75 for cars and $10.75 for motorcycles during peak hours. Trucks are charged cash tolls of $18.50 per axle, with discounted peak, off-peak, and overnight EZ Pass tolls. Our discounted carpool toll is available at all times for cars with 3 or more passengers using NY or NJ EZ Pass, who proceed through a staffed toll lane. There is an off-peak toll of $6.25 for qualified low-emission passenger vehicles, which have received a Green EZ Pass based on registering for the Port Authority Green Pass discount plan. Starting on December 6, 2015, the cash tolls going from New Jersey to New York are $15 for both cars and motorcycles. EZ Pass users are charged $10.50 for cars and $9.50 for motorcycles during off-peak hours, and $12.50 for cars and $11.50 for motorcycles during peak hours. Trucks are charged cash tolls of $20 per axle, with discounted peak, off-peak, and overnight EZ Pass tolls. Our discounted carpool toll is available at all times for cars with 3 or more passengers using NY or NJ EZ Pass, who proceed through a staffed toll lane. There is an off-peak toll of $7 for qualified low-emission passenger vehicles, which have received a Green EZ Pass based on registering for the Port Authority Green Pass discount plan. The bridge has 29 toll lanes, 12 in the upper-level toll plaza, 10 in the lower-level toll plaza, and 7 in the Palisades Interstate Parkway toll plaza. The toll plazas on the lower level and Palisades Parkway are not staffed during the overnight hours and accept only EZ Pass transactions during this period. Pedestrians and cyclists cross for free on the sidewalk. Though there are sidewalks on each side of the bridge, cyclists and pedestrians can use only the south side. The bridge offers spectacular views of the Hudson River, the Manhattan skyline, and the New Jersey Palisades. Pedestrians had to pay tolls of 10 cents shortly after the bridge opened, but non-motorized traffic is no longer tolled. In January 2007, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey announced a 2-year, $3.20 million deal with Geico, the auto insurance giant, that would have posted a large billboard atop the toll plaza that said, "Geico Drive Safely," along with Geico signs on the toll booths and approach roads. A week later, however, the Port Authority cancelled the contract after critics said the signs would mar the landmarked bridge, that the Port Authority had failed to negotiate a good price for the deal, and that the signs might violate Fort Lee's regulations. Alternate routes. The George Washington Bridge is notorious for traffic jams during rush hour, as are the highways connected to it, including the Trans-Manhattan Expressway that turns into the Cross-Bronx Expressway to the east, the Harlem River Drive that turns into the FDR Drive, the Henry Hudson Parkway that turns into West Side Highway to the south, and the Major Deegan Expressway in the Bronx at the other side of the Harlem River at its interchange with I-95. The western approaches in New Jersey are also slow, specifically I-95, US 1-9, and 46, Route 4, and the Palisades Parkway. Within New York City, the Lincoln Tunnel and Holland Tunnel also enter Manhattan, albeit further south. Within the New York metropolitan area, the Tappan Zee Bridge is an alternate route further north that avoids the city proper. For traffic from further away, such as traffic between New England and Pennsylvania, Interstate 84, which crosses the Hudson on the Newborough-Beacon Bridge, is often used as an alternative rather than either the GWB or the Tappan Zee Bridge, as it avoids the inner New York metropolitan area and is a less congested route. Non-motorized access. The George Washington Bridge is popular among sightseers and commuters traveling by foot, bicycle, or roller skates. The south sidewalk is shared by cyclists and pedestrians, with a level surface from end to end. The entrance in Manhattan is at 178th Street, just west of Cabrini Boulevard, which also has access to the Hudson River Greenway north of the bridge. Also on Hudson Terrace, less than 100 yards north of the bike ped entrance, walkers will find the start of the Long Path hiking trail, which leads after a short walk to some spectacular views of the bridge and continues north toward Albany. The George Washington Bridge carries New York State Bicycle Route 9, a bike route that runs from New York City north to Rouse's Point. The Port Authority closed the north sidewalk at all times in 2008. Though it offers direct access into Palisades Interstate Park, the north sidewalk requires stairway climbs and descents on both sides, which is impassable to people with physical disabilities and a risk in poor weather conditions. Transportation alternatives. A New York City advocacy group has proposed an enhanced River Road connector in Fort Lee, which would create safer pedestrian and bicycle access to the George Washington Bridge on the New Jersey side of the bridge. Suicides. The George Washington Bridge is among the most frequently chosen sites in the New York metropolitan area for committing suicide. In 1994, a caller into the Howard Stern show was on the bridge threatening to commit suicide, but Howard Stern managed to talk him out of it. The 2010 suicide of Tyler Clementi garnered national attention. In 2012, a record 18 people threw themselves off the bridge to their deaths, with 43 suicide attempts overall. In popular culture, the landmark bridge is seen in many movies set in New York, mostly in establishing shots. The bridge is featured, along with the nearby Little Red Lighthouse, in Hildegard Swift's 1942 children's book The Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Grey Bridge. The bridge is also featured in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, Woody Allen's Broadway Danny Rose, Mike Newell's Donnie Brasco, and Abraham Polanski's Force of Evil. On Sesame Street, Ernie often sang the words George Washington Bridge to the tune of Sobre las Olas. In the 1976 film Network, the character Max Schumacher tells a funny story to his friend Howard Beale, in which the young Schumacher, who overslept for a news shoot at the George Washington Bridge, gets into a cab wearing a raincoat over his pajamas and tells the cabbie to take him to the middle of the bridge. The concerned cabbie tells him, "Don't do it, buddy. You're a young man. You got your whole life ahead of you," assuming that he was going to jump from the bridge.